Hey there. Well, savers can rejoice here in Australia as the Reserve Bank of Australia decides not to cut the official cash rate in July. However, long term, the picture for savers is a little bit more bleak because worldwide, the trend for the remainder of 2025 is for official cash rates to be much lower at the end of the year than they are today. So, if you're someone that relies on income or you're chasing yield, what options do you have? Well, it just so happens that right across the world, there's been an explosion in both ETFs and what we call here in Australia listed investment companies or LICs, which, believe it or not, are offering close to, if not above, twice the interest rate that traditional savings accounts can offer. Now, this area, as I said, has exploded in recent years, but there is a darker side to it. Let me explain why. What we're talking about here with these ETFs is that actually it's a way for private credit and equity to enter more traditional markets, ones that normally banks with their savings lending deposits would be covering. So this week's newsletter, I explain a little bit more about this area of the investment world. Why, if you are a saver or chasing yield, they would be things that you would seriously consider. And then finally, also the fact that we have been here before. And this really is looking like a gigantic setup that once we hit the peak of the real estate cycle and then come over, it's going to spring a trap on us all. So to read more about it, look in the description box below this video. You'll find the link there. I ask you to read and enjoy. Comments always welcome, of course. While you're there, if you can hit the like and subscribe button, you know how much the algorithms love it. Now, I mentioned the setup. It's more of a case of cause and effect. We have been here before. I don't know if you lived through it or were in fact affected by it, but back in 1990, the end of that real estate cycle, Victoria was plunged into financial chaos as a number of massive building societies went bust. Now we're talking about a government tax-funded bailout in excess of $900 million in 1990 dollars, which is not chump change back then at all. My fear is that this setup will happen again, and you'll have to decide if you use these as a savings vehicle whether 7, 8, 10% interest today is worth the amount of taxpayer funds that you're going to have to pay when the cycle turns to bust and these companies once again unfold. There is another angle too that I need to bring to your attention, and it's this. The Reserve Bank of Australia has a lot of free data, but it rarely discusses or shares much of it. You have to dig very, very deep to find the stuff that's really interesting. Well, here's a chart that you may find interesting and shocking at the same time. But it's been many, many decades since we've had this arrangement of Australia's traditional deposit-taking institutions starting to lose ground and in fact potentially be overtaken by registered financial corporations. Now, what are RFCs? Well, they're mortgage-backed securities and other alternate investment vehicles. Sounds like private credit and equity to me, doesn't it? This setup will not end well. When you have that type of finance and credit now overtaking the more traditional banks, it speaks of two things. Obviously, one, they are gaining market traction and market share as people hunt for higher returns for their money. But two, they are private. They have no obligation under the law to let you or the markets really know how they're getting the returns that they are to offer you, nor what they're lending or how much and to whom. All that is behind the shelves, or as we saw in 1990, when the tide goes out, then we find out that they were really just lending while standing on quicksand. So, interesting topic, yes? This newsletter, regardless of whether you're using these types of ETFs or LICs to boost your retirement income or not, I think it beholds you to understand the playing ground here and the potential risks that we all face in the future. Great. Thank you very much for your time. It was good to see you again. I'll see you next week.